29 wins, 4 defeats, 1 loss, 1 draw, with 19 wins by way of knockout. He's ranked number 3 by the WBC, number 4 contender in the WBA. Please welcome the challenger, James Buster Douglas.
They don't know Buster Douglas too well here, but he's one of the real nice guys in boxing with a great opportunity tonight.
And his opponent, the defending champion on my left, really needing no introduction the world over. He's ready to fight out of the red corner and attired in black trunks. Hailing from Catskill, New York, he weighed in at a ready 220 1/2 pounds. His outstanding record, 37 wins, no defeats, with 33 big wins by way of knockout. He's making his 10th defense of the heavyweight crown, introducing the undefeated, undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, the one and only Iron Mike Tyson.
Just another day at work for Mike Tyson. He looks almost bored as they call to the center of the ring by the referee, Octavio Meran.
Gentlemen, remember the dressing room instruction. Shake hands and good luck both.
Mike didn't have that menacing look that we've seen in so many of his fights before. Anyway, the stage is set. Now, you'll notice something in the crowd here. They don't quite cheer the way they do in the United States and other places around the world. So if you think the crowd isn't into it, we're in the Tokyo Dome. It seats some 60,000 people. There's about 30 to 35,000 here. But it's not that they're not into the fight. It's just that they don't seem to react the same way they do. You know, the baseball players bow at the umpires in baseball when they're called out on strikes. So that kind of gives you an idea. The stage is set. We're set to go. Bob Sheridan here. You see Mike Tyson in the black trunks, traditional, and Buster Douglas. For Buster, it's which Buster Douglas has come to fight tonight. We've seen him fight outstandingly in many of his fights. We're just underway here. 10-point must scoring system. 3 judges will score the fight. Larry Rosadio of the United States, Ken Morita of the U.S., and Mr. Uchiha from Japan here. Mike will try to get in and land that big right hand anytime he can. Buster, who's got a pretty good left hand, you see that jab, he's trying to hold Mike off. If he's able to hold Mike off, this thing could go a few rounds. If he can't hold Mike off, Mike will dispose of it early. That right hand got through. That's a surprise. And one thing noticeable right away here is that Buster is not backing up, and when he gets in tight, he's not just hanging on to Mike. He's here to fight. Johnny Johnson, his trainer, and J.D. McCauley actually believe that Buster Douglas can win this fight, but golly, how many trainers have we listened to over the years that, you know, I think sometimes you get too close to a fighter and you believe things that you're hoping for. But honestly speaking, Buster looks pretty good in the early going here of the first round of a scheduled 12-round World Heavyweight Championship fight. And now the warning comes about the heads coming together. You saw Mike's head come right in the cheek there of Buster Douglas. You see the way Mike dips down. And by the way, this is one of the taller fighters as we reach the halfway point in the first round. And you see right away Buster not so intimidated by Mike. A couple of unusual things here. You know, against the guys he won the title from, like Trevor Berbick and Bone Crusher Smith, with the exception of Tony Tucker, who Mike won the IBF title from, everybody else has been really intimidated by Mike. And Buster is not showing a lot of that, you know, real intimidation we've seen by other fighters fighting Mike.
Hey.
Big thing is whether he can sustain this. Of course, Mike hasn't tagged him yet with a big blow. Look at them as they exchange here in round 1. Oh, that right hand actually caught Mike. Mike may have taken it on the glove there, but Buster is here to fight. This is a surprise, I think, right away. You see, again, the key, and keep watching for this, whether Buster can hold him off with the left hand, and what nobody else has been able to do, can he actually ever back Mike off? As that big lunging left hook, Buster able to get, notice the right hand up to protect the right ear. I think the height and reach advantage certainly looking like an advantage for Buster Douglas here in the early going. Buster in at 231 and a half, 11 and a half pounds heavier than is Mike Tyson. Coming up to the closing seconds of this, the first round. Wow! With the right hand is Buster Douglas. And Mike comes right back and answers it with a wild left hand of his own. There's the bell, ending round one. I gotta tell you, folks, this is exciting now. Now you ask yourself a question here as we start round number 2. The Tokyo Dome, of course, Mike Tyson in his traditional black trunks, James Buster Douglas in white, already has gone further than some of the opponents of Mike Tyson, namely the last opponent, Carl the Truth Williams, last July, was felled in the first round.
Hey, don't do that. Don't do that. Break.
And there was a lot of people that didn't expect Buster, quite honestly, to get through the first round, and that's why Don King has brought this show on the road. Look at Buster landing some shots here. And he hasn't backed Mike up. Mike's standing straight in front of him. Look at this, Buster landing some shots. This is surprising here. Getting the jab through, stopping Mike. Mike comes through, leans to the right, and then throws that left hook. You still just get the idea that when is Mike going to explode? You've seen it so many times before. And I still have to say to this point, Buster hanging in there pretty good. Now he ties him up, and referee Moran has to separate the two. Mike comes through and misses the jab. You know, a lot of psychology involved with this fight. Before the fight, you heard about Buster Douglas' mom passed away a short time ago, and he's dedicated this fight to his mother, and he had a bit of a cold this week, but that didn't seem to bother him. This is the biggest night of his life. Midway through the second round, a place that many of us thought we might not see. Hey, there's a grazing right hand gets through. The left hand again by Douglas. Surprisingly, here in the second round, this is Douglas's round in the second. The first round probably would be scored more even by the judges because they wouldn't pick up immediately what Buster Douglas was doing. And we, of course, have the advantage of the fellas in the truck that have the punch stat information actually telling us that Mike Tyson only landed a few punches in the first round. But definitely Buster is winning the second round, which is very surprising. Of course, Mike at any time lands that big shot. And that's the exciting thing about the heavyweight division, because one punch can end it all, but certainly change the tide of the fight immediately. Right now, it's a better fight than we ever dreamed of here in Tokyo. But you still, as I said before, get the feeling, well, as Larry Rezadio says, hey, watch that head, Mike, when you come in. Said Larry Rezadio. He's the judge. We're actually talking about Octavio Moran. Oh, an uppercut got through that time by Buster. Look at this, Buster landing some shots here. Well, one thing for sure, he's come to fight.
Okay.
This is as good as we've ever seen Buster Douglas, even in the fight against Tony Tucker, which was a real tough fight. Buster looked very good in the early going of that IBF championship fight, and then as the bell ends round number 2, Buster kind of went by the wayside. And at his size, maybe it's a strategy of Aaron Snowell and Mike Tyson to just kind of, make a fight of it through the early going and then catch up with him in the later rounds with a big shot. If that's the strategy, then it's working, because certainly Buster Douglas is using a lot of energy to this point. Let's see how it goes here in round 3. Mike looks like he's got the adrenaline flow going a bit better here. Mike, of course, has had some personal problems, and you wonder, everything has come kind of easy for him. Is he bored? He had all the highly publicized problems with his marriage with Robin Givens, and, of course, the death of Custom out. A good left hook to the body that time. And
don't do that, Mike. Don't do that, Mike. Break. Okay. All right.
They tell me again, interesting information, that Buster Douglas has landed over 50 punches and Tyson's landed only 16. Now the problem is the judges don't see those statistics that we're telling you. So I would say that the judges probably scored the first round even and the second round in favor of Buster Douglas. See Mike much more aggressive, but again, Buster's not being backed off by Mike Tyson, which is something we just haven't seen in other fights.
No.
Referee Moran tries to separate the two big fellas.
Okay.
And the action continues. It's clear that Buster Douglas is not intimidated by Mike Tyson. Mike not using a lot of movement. You notice we haven't seen him do the dip. He's kept that head kind of in the face of Buster Douglas. But we're only in round 3, don't forget. And Buster has that history of kind of wearing down as fights progress. Midway point now, and this the 3rd round. Octavio Moran, the 3rd man in the ring. His name is actually Octavio Moran Sanchez. He goes by the last name Moran. Unbelievable, the performance to this point anyway of Buster Douglas. Douglas, of course, in the white. You see him feint right, and then he doesn't throw the right hand. Mike tying him up inside. Buster doing something successful. When he gets Mike inside, he grabs on and holds. You see right there? And that prevents Mike from doing what we've seen in other fights, dipping down and then coming with that big uppercut. Haven't seen an uppercut yet by Mike Tyson. That one he kind of shoots from the hip and misses the left hand. And notice Buster doing a pretty good job getting his right hand up by the ear so he's not susceptible by getting really creamed by that left hook of Mike Tyson. Oh, there's the left hook that got through. That's the first real telling blow by Mike Tyson. And now let's see if Buster can hang on and keep him off. Instead, it's Buster coming back. Mike paws and lunges. You know, Mike has been very successful against some tall guys. Bone Crusher Smith, a big tall guy. Mitch Blood Green, a big tall guy. And both of those opponents just sort of hung on to Mike, with Buster is hanging on when he gets inside, but trying to keep him off with the left and then throwing the right hand. Closing seconds now as the bell ends, round number 3. Hey, this is round 4. Bob Sheridan here. We're in Tokyo, Japan. And a beautiful arena here where the Yomiuri Giants play baseball most of the time, and the Japanese crowd of some 35,000 on hand here enjoying what they certainly didn't expect. And that's that we're in the early moments here of the 4th round in Tokyo. Buster has been successful getting his left jab through and holding Mike off. He really hasn't backed Mike off yet, and that will be an indication if maybe Buster's for real. Mike, you saw, landed that big left hook, and then he goes headhunting with the right hand, and that's what Aaron Snowell told him in between the 3rd and 4th round. But again, their philosophy may be to try to wear this big guy down, but at this stage, into the 4th round, Buster not showing any signs of slowing down. It looks a bit lethargic here in the 4th. He's not up on his toes, not shooting out that left as much. Well, there he goes. As I said, he throws the left and the right behind it. Notice another thing about Buster, some pretty good hand speed. And for some reason, Mike doesn't seem to be into it, but he's a guy that, as we've seen so many times in other fights that have gone any distance at all, like against Jose Ribalta that went 10 rounds, and I suppose you could talk about that 7th round fight with Tyrell Biggs, that Mike, when he decides to pick up the pace, can do it. That's the midway portion of the 4th round. And Octavio Moran separates them for about the 20th time so far here. Of course, the people on hand here are thrilled that Buster is still around here in the 4th round. And the big question is going to be, can he back Mike off? Can he keep that left going? Well, gee, there's a right hand that gets through. I'm talking about the big questions, and all of a sudden the big fella executes it. See him bounce the head back again of Mike Tyson? And he's been very successful with the ability to tie Mike's hands up. For some reason, Mike just doesn't look as aggressive and menacing as I've seen him in so many other fights. But all that can change with one big shot. And don't ever forget that. Wow. That's the great thing about the heavyweights. It's always sudden death.
Rick? All right.
There's the ability of Buster Douglas again. You have to say, in all the fights and all the world telecasts we've done that have involved Buster Douglas, this is the best I've ever seen him look. And of course, styles make fights, and you see, oh, there's Mike missing that big left and just grazed the chin of Buster Douglas. And Douglas answering with loaded up shots of his own as the bell ends. Round 4. Hey, we've got a good fight on our hands here in Tokyo. Wow. Mike Tyson just barely missed that left hand shot. And right away, Buster came right back. Well, listen. As Evander Holyfield, of course, he's in line. He's got a $12 million guarantee for June. So, of course, he wants everything to go the way it's supposed to go. Evander, one of the great warriors in the sport, but he'll have his hands full with Tyson like everyone else has had. Because I say that like I just expect Tyson to knock Buster Douglas out, but this fight has got to end first.
Come on, Buster. You have to come back. Everything will be there. Everything will be there, champ. Come back, okay? Don't worry about it. Stay alert.
A lot of confidence in the corner of Buster Douglas. And Buster filled with confidence as we go to round number 5. You know, on my scorecard, I actually have Douglas winning 2, 3, and 4. And look at this, the first 2 big shots and 3 and 4 shots landed, and this is the 5th round, landed by James Buster Douglas. Not intimidated at all. Now you see what I mean about backing him off? This is the first guy I've seen that's been able to do this. As I say that, Mike comes right forward. The trouble with trying to analyze what Buster is doing now is I just have the feeling that Mike wants to drag this into some later rounds. But there was a real good right hand that landed off the hands of James Buster Douglas.
No, 2 punches. 2 punches, go, okay.
A little bit of swelling and puffiness by that left eye. See the jab followed by the right hand. Mike with puffiness by that left eye here in the 4th round.
No punches, break. Okay.
Now Buster's back up on his toes like he was in the real early going.
No.
You know, as the rounds go by, this guy is gaining more confidence.
Okay.
So Mike doesn't want to drag this thing any further than he really has to now. Mike never used to be hit as much as he's been hitting this fight. Oh, big right hand landed that time. Buster's, if 2, 3, or 4 is a question mark, he's winning the 5th round handily. You don't need to be a professional boxing judge at the midway point here, and even inside there he lands an uppercut. Mike lunging with the left hand. And Buster seems quick enough on his feet, so as Mike lunges with that left hook, he's able to slide back. A lot of that has to do with the height and reach that he has. But he's chosen to stand and fight with Mike, where Bone Crusher, Smith, when he fought him, and Mitch Blood Green, every time they get any place near Mike, they just tied him up, and it made for a lackluster fight. Buster Douglas, for however long this goes, has come to fight.
Okay. No.
Buster's making a statement that at least he's not afraid of Mike Tyson. And that's something that we can't say for too many of the opponents that have fought Mike, no matter whom they may be to this stage in Mike's young career. Is Mike having an off night? You don't know. I mean, because again, the guy that lives by the big punishing punches, I've never seen him in any of his fights behind in the fights before. And again, I use Bone Crusher Smith and I use Blood Green because they're the tallest guys that I can recall him fighting. You see that punishing body shot with the right hand to the side of Buster Douglas's body? Coming up to the closing seconds of the 5th, and this is certainly Buster Douglas's round. All right, and Buster not taking any of the shenanigans from Mike, and that tells you something in itself. Back into the corner of Mike Tyson, and we'll listen this time.
You got to stay tight on this guy, Mike. You got to jab, right hand around here, left hook up here, come back with your right hand. All right, you ain't punching him. The save.
Mike just not moving laterally at all. He's standing and making himself a nice target for Buster Douglas. This is round 6, scheduled for 12, and a big surprise to this point in the fight here in Tokyo. I've got Buster winning 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's unofficial, of course. The judges Rossadio, Morita, and Uchera of Japan will do the official scoring. But a blind man can see certainly that Douglas is in command at this stage. And at one stage I questioned whether that could be the fight plan to drag it into the later rounds, but Buster not showing any signs of wearing down, at least to this point. We're in the 6th round. Mike Tyson with a long history of early knockdowns all through 1985 and into 1986 when he was fighting a lot. Very few fights get to the 2nd round, almost all first-round knockouts. And then you get into the area of 86 where he actually had to go 10 rounds against Quick Tillis. Was his longest appearance at that stage, and hasn't been a lot of rounds since then.
Step back, both. Step back. No punches, step back. All right.
And it's, you know, a real strange thing in my mind. I'm saying to myself, hey, is Mike mentally prepared to go the distance in this fight? And if so, he better start winning some rounds.
Sorry?
Mike looking a bit lethargic to me for the first time that I've seen him in his career. Oh, nice jab by Tyson that time. See, again, I don't want to give you the false impression that Mike couldn't end this at any time, because he still has thunder in both hands. And you get the idea now that the adrenaline's pumping here in the 6th round. Mike has got to realize that he's behind in this fight. You know, he's a guy that things have come very easy for him so far. Now he's got a man who's standing up to him. And this is when they separate the great champions from the guys who are around for a while, is how they face adversity. And Mike has got to rebound from this, because certainly Buster's having a good time of it to this point. Whatever the case may be in the eventual outcome, this is turning into a terrific fight. And it's going to be a memorable one. Look at Buster with the movement. Mike continues to stay flat-footed, not showing a lot of boxing skills. We haven't seen any uppercuts from Mike. We haven't seen him dip down. And looking again, almost lethargic, looking to land the big blow, which he's thrown about 3 or 4 times in this fight. A couple have landed, but Buster's been able to gobble them up. See, that one's just off. We're in the closing seconds now. This is the 6th round. And every time Mike does that hop, skip, and a jump as the bell ends the 6th round, Buster seems to realize it and backs up. Look at that swelling of the left eye of Mike. That can become a problem.
Lots of sevens. Everything off of 7.
Round 7.
All right, here we go with the 7th round. Bob Sheridan here in Tokyo, Japan. This is for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. Mike Tyson in the black trunks having a very tough time of it against James Buster Douglas. You know, coming into the fight, emotionally speaking, Buster probably has everything going for him. A lot of talk about the death of his mother and the dedication, that this is his night and all of that sort of stuff. But of course, one big shot from Mike Tyson can end all that speculation. And Mike looks like he's really trying to land a big shot here in the 7th round.
Punch in there, right? Break. Break. All right, break. Come on, get in.
The way the fight's going to this point, you at least have to begin thinking the possibility of an upset, because I have Buster considerably out in front of my scorecard. In fact, at this stage in the fight, I don't have Mike Tyson winning 1 round. I scored the last round even. I was stretching to score it even for that round, and I scored the first round even, but I scored 2, 3, 4, and 5, all in favor of Buster Douglas. Buster, one of the real nice guys in the boxing game, having the best night of his life. Mike, if he's not having an off night, he's not having a great night. He's not able to execute a lot of things. His hands aren't real busy. He's throwing a lot of wide punches, and every time, just like that time, you see that, a big shot being landed by James Buster Douglas. Tavio Moran. Again, you see the jab, holding Mike off. And more often than not, he's landed Oh, look at this shot inside by Mike that time. Doesn't seem to hurt Buster. He's in great shape. There's no question about it. Look at him pushing Mike off. Now, there's something you haven't seen. Buster has got the confidence of perhaps, you know, you go back to when Leon Spinks fought Muhammad Ali, when you get to this stage in the fight, you had to just say, you know, hey, maybe I can beat this guy, Muhammad Ali, is Spinks thinking. And now you definitely get the idea that Douglas is saying, hey, I can beat Tyson. He's not so tough. And when a fighter believes in himself and he's ahead on the scorecards, if he doesn't run out of gas, how dangerous can he be? I don't know. But I'll tell you one thing. There's the first, second uppercut we've seen by Mike Tyson inside. Buster trying to get off with a kind of half right-handed uppercut that time. Both guys, and Buster showing a little bit more fatigue here. I think Mike probably having his best round of the fight to this point. Nice shot inside. And now you get the idea that at some stage here, Mike can land a big shot and end this fight. There's the bell ending round 7. And that, to me, is Tyson's first round of the fight.
You gotta throw combinations, right? I hate relax. All right, you're down. You're down in the scoring, right?
You know, we showed you a shot of Evander Holyfield, but one of the big surprises in this training camp of Mike Tyson was Greg Page, who actually dropped him in training. It was a big surprise. They immediately got Greg Page out of there as a sparring partner because Don King said, hey, Page, if he's able to do that in training, we can make him an opponent. Don't forget, Greg was a former WBA heavyweight champion of the world and could be an opponent for Mike Tyson. And here we go with the 8th round. And let's see if Mike can sustain what he started in the 7th, or if Buster is going to get right back on top of his game. We're in Tokyo, Japan. I'm Bob Sheridan. You're watching the heavyweight championship of the world. Mike Tyson throwing a little bit more leather here now in the early going of the 8th round. Buster tying him up.
Great, James.
Expecting to see some fatigue from Buster. But no matter what the story is, you never expected it to be in the 8th round of this heavyweight championship fight. Buster looking a little bit sloppy now. In the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th round, Buster able to back Mike off with that jab and then land the right hand behind it. Let's see if he can get back to that. Oh, instead Mike lands a pretty good right hand of his own inside. And there's got to be a sense of urgency for Mike. I think his corner has told him enough that, you know, you've given away a few rounds. They don't have the advantages that we have with the replays and the punch stats that's relayed to me, but by the same token, they've got 2 eyes and they can see that to this point in the fight, Buster Douglas is ahead. But in this 8th round, Buster's not the same guy he was in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and even into the 6th round. Mike trying to sustain what he did in the 7th here.
Don't relax, James. Don't relax.
We find out from the truck again that Mike only averaged about 25, 26 punches through the first 6 or 7 rounds, and he's already throwing more punches than that, I think, in the 8th round. He's busier. And again, for about the 6th time, Octavio Moran warns the 2 fighters about the heads coming together. Neither fighter been down, neither fighter visibly shaken. Mike has puffiness by the left eye. Buster, a little abrasion by his left eye. Wow, with the left hand is Buster Douglas. Buster drops that big right hand, but Mike takes it on the glove, and he backs off Mike again with the left. Wow, with the right hand is Buster. Buster trying to really work the left eye of Mike Tyson. See it right there, right on top of it, just as I say it. Wow, with the right hand that time is Buster. Buster trying to finish this thing, and you get an idea Mike is trying to finish it as well. This has turned out to be a pretty good fight. And the fact of the matter is it's Buster that's making it the fight. Look at these shots landed by Buster Douglas. And if Buster was out of gas in the early going of this round, he's got it back together in the late portion here. Grazing left hand, chopping right, misses. Uppercut landed by Mike Tyson. That's one of the few uppercuts he's landed in the fight. We've been looking for that all night. Oh, there's a nice uppercut that time that drops Buster Douglas. The count's up to 2 and 3 and 4. His eyes from where I'm sitting look fairly clear. It's up to 7 and 8. And here it is at 9. Is he going to get up? Yes, he does. All right. And the bell ends the 8th round. What a round for Mike Tyson. Wow. What a turn of events.
Made a mistake. Got inside.
We're going to show you some replays here.
All right, take it deeper, take it deeper.
Now let's listen to the corner just a bit.
You got it. Double the jab. Straight right hand.
Trying to get his bearings back, trying to get those legs back. As you look at the replay, it'll be an uppercut from Mike Tyson that eventually catches him. And there it is. Look at that. It's a clean right uppercut. And down went Buster Douglas. Different angle. Look at the head snap and the perspiration fly. And that's the Mike Tyson we've been looking for all night. And now the big question is, can Buster get it together between the 8th and 9th round? Look at that. What a vicious uppercut. Is it just another day of the office for Mike Tyson? Well, here we go with round number 9. Now let's see if Mike can sustain it. And he's got the adrenaline flow going. He wants to end this thing now. The 9th round of a fight we never expected to be this far. So no matter what happens, we give a lot of credit to Buster Douglas for making this a big, big fight. Tyson trying to end it with one big shot again. He's down, he comes with the uppercut. Somehow or other, Buster's throwing shots back. Look at this. Buster is not ready to pack it in. His mind is willing. Are his legs still there? Mike misses with that vicious left uppercut this time. We're in the 9th round, a place nobody expected us to be in. Look at these shots just loading up by Mike Tyson now. Mike wants to end this. He's had enough of Buster Douglas for one night in Tokyo. Buster seems to have the bounce back in his legs. In fact, he looks better right now in this, the 9th round, than he did in 7 and 8. In his history, when he's got fatigue, has been to buckle, but he's not buckling now.
No.
He's doing the right things. He's still sloppy, mind you, in some ways. You know, Buster's mother, who died a couple of weeks ago, might be watching him and giving him just that extra inspiration that he needs. Whatever it is, he's fighting back like I haven't seen Buster do. Certainly in the Tony Tucker fight, when he got in trouble, he kind of, well, he folded up. There's no question about it. But Buster has something special going tonight. We're past the midway point in round 9, and I expected Mike. Look at this! Look at Buster coming back! Did he buckle the legs of Mike? I don't know. He caught him again. Buster fights back strongly, landing some big shots. And now he can't get careless. Look at this! Who would ever have expected this? Hit around and not Buster would back it in. He comes back, showing the heart, the tremendous heart that we've seen sometimes in Lackey and others. Tonight, Buster's got the heart back. Wow! Mike now is the one that's hanging on the ropes. Without the ropes, Mike may have gone down as well. I haven't seen Mike in this kind of trouble before. Look at Mike actually grasping to hang on. Mike missing the shots. Buster loading up the shots now. A seesaw battle it's turned out to be, from 6, 7 into the 8th and now the 9th round. Buster down, as you know, in the last round. Come off the canvas. This has been something he's not been able to do. Closing seconds of the 9th round. And this is a big surprise. All right, there's the bell ending the 9th round. The significance of what we just saw is Buster's history has been, when adversity comes, he's had trouble coming back. Mike's history is, when he gets a guy in trouble, he's a great finisher. It was late in the 8th round when Buster was in a lot of trouble when he got knocked down. But in the 9th round, Buster actually came back. Look at these, and these replays. You see Mike get one big shot in there, but Buster led it to a 3. And look at this. Buster catches behind the head, another flush left hook, trying to get those arms free. bangs the body back upstairs in the head. Buster doing just about everything right, but Mike landed that big shot in between, but it didn't take a toll on Buster.
Round 10.
Buster Douglas absolutely having the night of his life to this point. Oh, Mike tries to land a big right hand to open the 10th round. Mike wants to finish this thing in the worst way. And according to my scorecard, he almost needs to. Let's see if Buster can sustain through the 10th round. Oh, right hand landed as the referee was breaking them. Mike misses the uppercut. Mike's left eye is really closing up now. As I take a look, I get a good shot. Well, you can't see it, but I can. And his eye is really absolutely closed on the left side. That jab of Buster was good in the early going, but the big surprise to me is the way Buster came back in the 9th round. Look at this. Buster not intimidated. He wants to keep it going. Mike actually, his legs, notice his legs in these wide shots. He doesn't have good bounce in his knees. Buster's legs actually look fresher to me. See Mike the way he went back in his heels, doesn't have the good balance. His legs together as Buster's landing these. Oh, nice uppercut by Buster Douglas. Look at this. He's knocked Mike Tyson down for the first time in his career. Mike Tyson hits the canvas. He's in big trouble. He may not be able to recover. It's up to 7 and 8. He's not going to make it. Unbelievable. 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 Buster Douglas is the new heavyweight champion of the world. This has got to be, if not the, one of the biggest upsets in the history of boxing. Buster Douglas, the new, undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. It happens here in Tokyo, Japan. Wow, what a surprise. Mike definitely confused. Oh, what a surprise, folks. I've called a lot of great fights over the years, but this upset, if you take a look at that left eye of Mike, certainly one of the biggest. Aaron Snowell just had told Mike that he was counted out. Mike kind of obviously unaware of what happened. And look at Buster. John Horn there. Rory Holloway. A lot of concern in that corner. What a scene here in Tokyo. Who would have believed this? Boy, I'll tell you one thing. When the heavyweight championship is on the line, this is why, folks, you can't afford to miss them, no matter who the opponent is. This is unbelievable. 2 jabs. 3rd jab, a glancing blow. Mike's legs weren't there at this stage, in my opinion. Still coming forward, and there is just a great uppercut. And it's that uppercut that had Mike back reeling, and then followed up by a real strong left hand. And as it worked out, that's all she wrote, as Mike is now about to be counted out. Wow. Boy, you talk about Mike being out of breath and out of gas in some of the big upsets. This is unbelievable. I'm out of breath and out of gas. This is a draining fight to call and to watch. But what a great sporting event to be at. I mean, you're talking about Clay Liston, Spinks and Ali, some of the great upsets of all time. This is going to the record book. Folks, what you've seen is now, I mean, now that I can think about it, is really a very, very historical fight. And one more look at it. There's the big uppercut that changes the course of boxing history, followed by the big left hand right. Bang, right there. Oh, look at this. And Buster's still throwing punches. Another big left hand, throwing the punches as he goes down. And Mike, for all practical purposes, as the mouthpiece flies, is out right here. What a night for Buster Douglas. And now there'll be all kinds of questions about Mike Tyson and his mental preparation for this fight and the change of trainers and the future for Mike. And wow, what is this going to do to the heavyweight picture? It'll be all a jumble now with this man, the new heavyweight champion of the world.